Kia ora, my name is Neek Soto, you can call me Neeks, and I have a sizable video game collection. I'm rather proud of it, and I wanted to put a video on the internet that was showing off. I am a show-off, I'm an egotist, I'm a narcissist at heart, so this is going to feed into my ego beautifully. Just indulge me for a bit. Then again, I suppose I should probably explain to all those who aren't quite in the loop what a video game is. Yeah, we can do that real quick first thing. Alright. Video games. If you don't know what a video game is, I assume that you were either brought up in a home that didn't allow them, or you were brought up in a home before video games were a thing. So, picture your childhood. Go back to when you were a kid. Imagine you're at home, it's raining outside, and you're bored. What do? Well, you might pick up a book. Books are fantastic for passing the time. You can pick one up, start reading it, and transport yourself into this brand new world. Maybe it's fictional and it's fantasy, and suddenly you're reading about this place in such great detail, and your mind is trying to create this world for you to vicariously live in through these characters that are going on this journey in this book. That is one of the most fantastic ways of telling a story. Books transport your mind somewhere that you could never be. But maybe you're not a book person. Maybe you love music. Maybe instead you'd flick on the radio or Spotify or whatever, and you listen to your favorite songs, listen to your favorite album. Songs convey to you emotions, and they convey to you stories, and they bring your heart to different places. They don't only transport your mind and your imagination, they also take your heart along. If a book is poorly written, it can do nothing to make you feel like you're part of this world. But music, no matter what the song is, it's always going to have a rhythm and a beat that you understand. Music is one of the single most reliable ways to convey emotion. That's why I love it so much. But maybe you weren't somebody who was too interested in the radio or music. Maybe you were somebody who loved watching the television. That was my field. That was my field of expertise. Television, I could sit in front of the TV for hours and hours and not know a single moment has passed by. Television, once again, transports you into a different world and shows you this fantastic world that you could be living in, or maybe delivers information to you visually and audibly. And television takes the best of literature and music and brings them together, because television, movies, all of those, television actually does more. It brings together the literature of books, the emotion and the rhythm of music, and it also brings a visual aspect. It helps you to immerse yourself into this world, because you can not only see what's happening and hear it, but you can sit and experience what these characters are doing. You can vicariously put your own perspective into theirs. You can imagine yourself in this world along with these characters that you've grown to love. Film is one of the most incredible forms of media that has changed me on a fundamental level. But video games are completely different. Video games are the only form of interactive fiction. Now, there are some exceptions, but video games are the most reliable way to go into a world, immerse yourself in it, feel the emotions of stories, feel the rhythm of the music and see the world that you're in. And not only that, but it allows you to directly affect what happens in this story. That is what a video game is all about. It's being a film. It's being a book. It's being a musical composition, mashing them together in the most beautiful way possible, and then saying, here are the reins, go take it for a ride. That's what a video game is. That's why I love them so much. Because they give you all of the power. They say, you want to experience this world? Then you experience it. Go do what you want. That's something that no other form of art, no other form of media, no other form of entertainment has ever been able to do. Not only that, but they have story. Sometimes. In October of 1958, William Higginbotham invented the second video game ever. I won't say it's the first, because technically the first was a computerized version of tic-tac-toe. We've all seen tic-tac-toe before, although here in New Zealand we call them noughts and crosses, but that's aside the point. This was the second video game ever. It very closely resembles video games that we see today, as well as the video game that I'm leading up to soon. So, at Brookhaven National Laboratory, on October the 18th, 1958, William Higginbotham invented the video game Tennis for Two and showed it off on the laboratory's annual Visitors' Day. It was the beginning of something incredible. This video game had incredibly simple controls. It was literally just a button and a wheel or a ball or something along those lines. I'm not sure, I don't remember quite what it looks like, but it was very, 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 very simple. And this would eventually make way for everything that we see now, but this was just the beginning. And in 1958, it was well ahead of its time, because after this happened, it took an entire, 14 years for video games really to become popular. Let's talk about the very first video game that really became a massive sensation worldwide. This video game is called Pong. If you haven't heard of a video game, you have still probably seen this. That you have still probably seen Pong. There's almost, I guarantee, I can't guarantee that. There is a very slim chance that you've never seen this. It is the video game thing. Pong is basically two bars on either side of the screen, and a ball will knock between the two, and all you got to do is make sure that it doesn't go to your side. You know, it doesn't go past your paddle. It's very simple. But then again, these were the founders of video game culture. It's important to note as well that Pong really was a risk at the time. There was not a video game market. People didn't buy this stuff, and it was expensive. But even this early on, people could see that video games were a thing, and they were special. I mean, 150,000 people bought Pong. People loved this thing, and look how simple it is. And one of the reasons that they loved it is because it had a very simple system for making you feel like you were achieving something. It gave you the objective, right? Which is hit the ball to the opponent's side without letting their rectangle hit the ball. You have to outmaneuver your opponent. All you have to do that with is this this wheel. That's how you control it. You spin this wheel clockwise to go down, and you spin it anti-clockwise to go up. And that's how you will control your paddle. That's how you stop the ball from hitting your side and ensure that it does hit the opponent's side. However, there is also a challenge. That challenge is that the opponent also has exactly what you have, a little paddle and a way to control it. You are competing with this opponent, but this opponent is trying to do the exact same thing that you are. That's the challenge. And once you overcome that challenge, instant serotonin. And that's what most video games of the time were. Especially arcade cabinets. They all came down to going up against a threat, overcoming it, and winning. However, that's not where it stops. Like I said earlier, a video game can bring you into a world. It's not just the challenge, not just the objective, not just the serotonin, it's also a story. That's where my next subject comes up. See, in 1983, there was a little company named Nintendo. And Nintendo, they made arcade cabinets for a good long while, and before that they were making toys for children. They had a good thing going. There was no need to change, there was no need to rock the boat, but they did. And they decided to go so incredibly far out of left field that nobody saw it coming. They made a video game console that people could buy and bring home and buy separate games for to put into this console to play. That's a market that really wasn't that big at the time. So Nintendo was taking quite a risk with this. They could have continued making arcade cabinets and just stuck with it, but no. They went into the home console business. And they came out with the Nintendo Entertainment System. This thing was huge. And I'll tell you why it was huge. Because on the 14th of July, 1983, the console released with a game called Super Mario Bros. This game is massive. Super Mario Bros. Released in 1983, was discontinued in 1994, and in that time it had sold 40 million copies. 40 million people had bought an NES so they could play Super Mario Bros. It was so incredibly different from any other video game. That's why people wanted to play it. People saw this game, and right away you can tell this is nothing like we've spoken about so far. It wasn't just an objective and the challenge that you face. It was also a story. Super Mario lives in a world where mushrooms speak, where turtles are evil, where there are ghosts who are shy, where the hills have eyes, where the sun can swoop down and attack, where you can ride on clouds. Super Mario lives in a fantastical world, and when you play Super Mario, you live in a fantastical world. As immersive as it is, and as fun as it is to play through, it doesn't look like our world, which is fine. A video game doesn't have to look realistic in order to be great. It just has to make you feel that this world is consistent. But as time went on, once the era of 8-bit and 16-bit games had passed, there was a new contender in the ring. The new cool kid on the block. This is the PlayStation. And this is Crash Bandicoot. On the 9th of September 1996, Crash Bandicoot released for the PlayStation. This was not the best looking piece of animation ever, no, of course not, but this time it's three-dimensional. You can move left and right, forwards, backwards, and up and down. That's unheard of. Once the PlayStation had released, along with the Sega Saturn and the Nintendo 64, these consoles had set a new standard that 3D was the way to go. Forward, backward, right, left, up and down. If you could travel in those three different dimensions, you're golden. That's all that you needed to be a good video game at the time, which I don't agree with in the slightest. However, it did make way for some of the most important video games of our time. For example, once again, Crash Bandicoot. Crash Bandicoot is a video game about a bandicoot who, I don't know what they look like. I'm going to put up an image of one right now. I have no idea what to expect, but either way, I'm going to put a pair of shoes on him and call him Crash Bandicoot, because Crash Bandicoot is the only Bandicoot that I know and care about. Hey, this is me editing right now. I recorded this very late at night, so I kind of went on a really long rant about video game music and how it's so good. So I cut it all out. It doesn't matter to the video. I've cut to the part where it's actually relevant to what I was talking about. Okay, bye. The music can give off a sense of wickedness, can give off a sense of the unknown, a sense of joy and adventure. That's what the tracks in Super Mario, do for you as a player. They help to immerse you farther into this story. And Crash Bandicoot does the exact same thing. It gives you this music that feels so upbeat and so lovely. It's like dum dum ba bum 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 ba ba da 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 dum. It makes you feel like you're in this wonderful place. Even though the world is very much like Mario's, where basically everything is out to kill you, it still feels so joyous and happy. Not only that, but the models. The models of characters, of enemies, of villains, of environments. It all feels so much more incredible because now you can go up to it, you can go away from it, you can jump on top of it, you can go underneath it. Things are far more intricate now, and that's something that's always going to be impressive. And video games continue to challenge what the new standard is. But at the time, this was the standard. Crash Bandicoot. It was a high standard. And everybody agreed. 9 million copies were sold by 2005. Games just continue to get better. They just continue to look better. They continue to make worlds that look and sound and feel incredible to play through, make you feel like this world is real, more consistent, makes you feel like you're part of this world. They continue to look better and continue to make... The developers are just the most magical people. Video games have evolved now to a point where they once were nothing more than just a pastime. Video games now create worlds that can be genuinely considered artistic. I can name several games off the top of my head that I would consider to be artful more than just a video game, but actually something that is worth considering as a piece of art. And I would consider every video game to be art because of the work that goes into it, the love and sincerity that goes into it. But of course, most video games come off as something that is supposed to be bought, consumed, and thrown away. But I just feel that the creativity and passion that goes into creating these games makes it far more than just a product. Imagine being in 1958 and figuring out that you can create a program that responds to your direct inputs in real time. Imagine figuring that out and how proud you would be to present to everybody Tennis for Two. the love, the intelligence, the creativity, the passion that would have had to go into this just to figure out how to make it work and how to be consistent, that would have taken massive dedication. And speaking of massive dedication, it would take exactly that to see a project all the way through to the end in the present day. Not only that, but also because of the many different types of artwork that actually go into creating a video game. These days, 3D model designing, orchestral music scores, top-of-the-line lyric writing, they all go into a single video game. And each of these things individually would definitely be considered art. So sticking them together and making them interactable would never in my mind be considered anything less than art. Even though they can be considered a pastime, I still consider them art. Art is not dependent on the form. Art is dependent on the people. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder. I've always believed that. I believe that about video games too. You don't have to consider it art if you don't like to. But it is to me. It is an art form that transports my mind, body, and soul into a new world that I can affect. It's an art form that allows me to feel as though I am somebody else. That allows me to feel that I have control over this world. That's something that no other art form, no other piece of media has ever been able to do for me. And for that, I will always love video games. And that's what a video game is. That's what it is. I could never really put it into a nutshell, I don't think. I could never say, this is a video game, XYZ. This, you have to do this to make a video game, blah, 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 blah. I think that I would just have to explain everything that goes into a video game, and that was the result. I really did ramble. I'm probably going to cut a bunch of it out, but that's what a video game is. In any case, I've spoken for 50 minutes now, almost an hour, just talking about all my thoughts about video games. That's fine. We can talk about my collection next time. I am quite excited about it too. I love my video game collection. I've got all the video games from the 5th generation onwards, the 5th generation of home consoles. I just realized I never explained what a home console is. God, for goodness sake. For good.